Okay, well, this week, after a bye week, we get a heck of a challenge playing an outstanding East Carolina football team. Ruffin McNeil's done a great job. I think this is his, fourth year there. And what they do offensively and defensively and the personnel that they've accumulated, I mean, it's a really good football team, really well-coached team. I'm sure they are kicking themselves a little bit. Had a tough one at Tulane, where I'm sure they felt like it slipped away from them, made some mistakes that didn't give themselves a chance to win the game. But a really good football team, which is indicative of their record and the way they play. It appears they have fun playing together for each other with energy and enthusiasm, like we're trying to get done here. So it'll take a tremendous effort on our team and our coaching staff to go down there and figure out a way to get a win.
Coach, I know you commented last week that you'd open up some positions for competition. Was there any movement in the bye week?
Oh, I think every week you're assessing your personnel. It's a little easier in the bye week because you're working more on yourself. It's hard to rotate guys in a game week. So do I think that you'll see some other guys playing this week? Yes. Do I think we owe that to our football team? Yes, to try and figure out how we can do it better. We obviously don't have the market cornered on doing things well right now, and we're working towards that. So I think that you'll see some guys rotating in that we're trying to give opportunities to and have earned it. But we only have so many players. Otherwise, they would have already been playing. If it was that simple, they'd already be playing.
Is Alan Bridgeford, do you expect him to be starting quarterback?
Yes.
From your perspective, how's the energy level of that locker room coming off that bye week heading into this game?
Been fine. I mean, our guys' energy level and last week's practices were good. Sure, is it frustrating? Of course it is. Is it frustrating for our staff? You bet it is. But the energy level and the attitude and the body language has been fine. And we just got to figure out a way to do it better, starting with myself and our coaching staff. That's what we're paid to do. And that's what we aim to do starting this week and moving forward.
Is there any part of the way the season has started that is where you can see a shake in confidence, or where maybe this has kind of become a mental thing? I mean, you hear people all the time say it's in their heads now. I mean, that's just, is there confidence? Where's the confidence level?
Well, I think it starts individually. I think individually, if you have players that have played a lot of football and that have had success, naturally exude confidence. They anticipate that they're going to make a play that has a chance to win the game. And the more players you have with experience and with the talent level to change the game, you're going to have that. The fewer players you have that have been in that moment, their individual confidence level decreases. Do I think that on both ends of the spectrum there's a point to that when you're winning and things are falling into place and you're on a roll, and anything in life, do you anticipate that it's just going to work out and you're going to find a way? Of course. That's in anything you're doing. Boy, you get on a little bit of a roll and you just feel like no one can stop you. And the other is true. Sometimes negative thinking sits in. Do I think that's our issue? No. I think we have other issues other than that we need to take care of. Do I think our guys think we have a chance to be a good football team and we haven't played our best football? Yes.
As Marquis said after the game the other night that he wishes guys would just stop looking at the scoreboard. He thinks that looking at the scoreboard only sort of, it just, kind of, I don't know, if they feel like they're under somebody's thumb, it keeps them down. Just always constantly looking at the scoreboard. I mean, is that something that you've talked about with the team, or any of the guys have talked about with you?
Well, I don't know how you avoid looking at the scoreboard. I know everybody talks about it and says don't look at the scoreboard, but there's a lot of things you do in football where you want to know what the score is. I mean, where you're at in the game and the decisions that you make. I mean, obviously, when you're not winning and having the success that you'd hope for, there's a lot of reasons, of which, whether we're looking at the scoreboard or not, that to me is one of the lowest reasons of why we're not having success. Sure, do you tell guys, hey, don't worry what the score is, it's how we play and how we coach? Sure, but there's a certain point to where we just need to continue to play piece good plays together, and then give yourself a chance by doing that. But I can't get into the minds of every one of our players. Do I think our players understand why we haven't had success and can point to different times of why? Yes. And so those are the things. Okay, can we point to why we're not having the success we'd like? Okay, how do we get those corrected? That's the first thing. How do you figure out the puzzle to get the right guys on the field of what they can do, stop turning it over, and give us a chance to have success and ultimately win?
How much confidence do you have in the 3 freshman receivers in between Ricard, Holmes, and Cox? I mean, you're at 5 games in. How do you think they fit in Node's system?
Well, we've had no choice. I mean, they're the guys we're going to play the talented guys. So have they improved? Yes. Are they where they need to be? No, of course not. And but I do believe that their best football is ahead of them, and we're going to continue to play those guys and continue to coach them and continue to build on that. Do we have to every week look to see what they do well and that they can give us a chance with what they're given, with their skill set and their strengths and their weaknesses? It gives us a chance to have success. That's not always easy because our sample size of what we expect them to do come game day is hard. You know, there's things every week that come up that are a little bit different, but I think they've done great. I think they're going to continue to grow, and we're going to continue to throw them out there. And when it turns on, like I said last week, there's going to come a point with a number of the guys that we're playing that people are going to say, boy, it feels like those guys have been around forever. And it will, because they will have played for a long, long time. And when they're playing really good football, which I hope is this weekend, people are going to say, wow, you know, I see what you saw then. It's just hard to speed up experience, which a lot of teams go through when you're playing young players. So that's no excuse. We have to figure out a way to do it better, coach them better, and really focus on the things they do well.
Coach, Shane Carden, he's the #1 QB in the conference right now, completing 73% of his passes. Can you talk a little bit about what you've seen from him on film so far, and kind of like what do you think the key is to stopping him?
Well, he's done a great job. He's a tremendous player. Their coaches have done a great job with him. I would consider our systems being very similar, although they're doing a heck of a lot better than we are at this moment. But they're fun to watch, and they're a confident group. Been together for a while. He's played for a while, but he's athletic. He can throw it. He's accurate. He looks like he leads. So it'll be a heck of a challenge for us because they do a great job of being balanced for the most part. Last week, maybe not as much running it, but they've been balanced, being able to run and throw it. And so, like I said, it's a heck of a challenge when you've got a quarterback that's playing as well as he is.
East Carolina defensively, what do you see in that?
Got a number of guys back that have played in that system. Again, they'll bounce in and out of 3 and 4 down, like a lot of teams are doing now versus spread teams. And they're not very complicated. They just do it very well. And they play hard and they chase the ball and they're athletic. And so it challenges. You don't see a lot of balls being thrown over their heads. So they keep the ball in front of them and then they rally and tackle it. So again, for us, that's a challenge because of us trying to play better football, be able to move the ball down the field and score. And that's been a challenge since I've gotten here, that the ability to drive the football as opposed to waiting on an explosive play, which is a part of it. But I think they do a great job.
You hear coaches say all the time, especially on offense, that it all starts up front, like with the offensive line. The offensive line has struggled so far this year. So, I mean, where are there specifically specific deficiencies along the offensive line where they're just not getting it maybe mentally or is it physical? Where is the offensive line breakdowns?
Well, collectively, whether it's the offensive line, our offensive skill guys, quarterback, we haven't played well enough at any one position or coached it well enough to where we're consistent. And some of that has to do with youth, some of it has to do with the new system. But there's a number of reasons why. Obviously, we're not lacking in a number of areas in terms of talent, but it's in terms of communication up front. And then obviously, technique. I don't think the effort's been an issue, but our technique and our understanding of what we're trying to do and then what are they doing and how that affects us. And right now, we haven't been consistent enough with that. And then there's times we're getting beat physically. That's going to happen. I think that's part of the problem is, okay, I can handle at times, at any position where you're getting beat physically, but when we're not on the same page, when we're not blocking the right people, then we have an issue. And that's something we have to get corrected, and that's happened. And so that's a sign of a team that isn't there yet. And so we're working towards that. That's what you do in the bye week, because again, we're not complicated on offense. East Carolina's not complicated on offense. You try to keep it simple so you can do it better than they do it. And right now, we're not doing that. Forget from just a talent standpoint, we're not doing it better than our opponent does it because we're not on the same page.
Anything positive come out of the bye week that really from practices? What did you see out of the guys?
Well, the positive part was I thought our guys responded well to the bye week in terms of how they practiced. I thought their attitude, their attention to detail, their body language was outstanding. I think that of anything, I think we got a chance like any bye week to assess what we're doing, assess personnel, how we can do it better, and that's what we're paid to do, is to try and figure that out. So I think that's the one positive. I don't even know what else would have been positive out of the bye week. Maybe getting some guys healthy, I guess, getting some guys back.
Turnover is really the Achilles heel for this team. Seems like all year, when you guys have momentum going one way, there's a turnover right there to follow it. Do you think on the sidelines is it just bad luck, or?
Oh, I don't know about all that. I'd hate to put it to bad luck. I think that's a cop out. We just have to, you look last week. I think there's reasons for everything, and it's borderline between are there reasons or are you just making excuses? But ultimately, no matter what, we have to stop turning it over. There's no other way to say it. Obviously, last week, you get a ball that's tipped, that falls in the hands of a guy being blocked. Another one where it's a punt and it kicks off a true freshman's heel, and the ball that was tipped was off a true freshman. Then our right tackle, the true freshman, gets beat and we get hit. And then we're trying to throw a comeback to the field and it's not a very good route. And are we really adept to throwing it on the guy sitting on? You can come up with all the reasons you want, but ultimately, we've got to do it better. And everybody's had a hand in it. To say one person, we've had a couple of tip balls. We've had a ball stripped from tee. We've had instances up front. We've had early in the season where it was running backs. We've corrected that. But ultimately, I don't know what we can do to change. We can't change who we are. We don't have tight ends. Okay, we have fullbacks that we play. Okay, but what we are, we can't go into a shell. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to line up and run power and ISO and do that. But we got to continue. We're building a program, so we're going to continue what we do. We just got to do it better. Ultimately, are there certain situations where you can change what you're doing to try and help yourself there? Yes, but ultimately, we've got to continue what we do and just do it better. But there's no question. It's you're not going to win many games. We've played 2 home games. We've turned over 10 times. That's a recipe to not win in 2 games that we feel like we should have won. But we didn't, so we earned that.
East Carolina has become something of a rivalry for Southern Miss, I guess because they've been on the schedule a while and the school is kind of like Southern Miss and the town is kind of like Hattiesburg. Even though it's your first year, have you sensed that rivalry part?
Well, I've sensed it from other people bringing it up. I think any rivalry starts with 2 very good programs that over time have put themselves in position to play for the championship. I think that's where a rivalry is built, unless it's a geographical issue, which this is not. So then really what it says is that East Carolina has had a really good program over the years, and so has Southern Miss. So that develops a rivalry. And you're in a situation where, maybe a little smaller market, but a great fan base, people that have supported the program, and 2 teams that a lot of teams around the country don't want to play. That you better strap it up when you play these 2 teams. But at this moment, it doesn't feel that way from my end of it, just because we're just trying to figure out a way to play better football and give ourselves a chance to win each week. And that's what we need to worry about controlling, whether it's East Carolina or any other opponent that's coming up in the future. But I promise you, it's been a great rivalry just out of 2 terrific programs that have had a chance in any given year to win the championship.
East Carolina's one of 3 teams leaving Tulsa, Tulane. What's been your impression of Conference USA, the teams they brought on, kind of the future? I know you haven't really played, me, just only played one conference, but just kind of your observance from around the league. What do you think about the future of the league?
Well, ultimately, your league and your coaches and your players will determine where you're at, because when they're going to eliminate the BCS and they're going to go to the playoff system, whether it's the AAC or it's the Conference USA, which is really what we're getting at here. We're getting at teams leaving in our league. We'll determine that. Who we recruit, our coaches, who we play out of conference, our competitive schedule, that'll determine which league, what teams, that will really determine that. So to me, the impression of some of the teams coming in, I haven't seen enough of them. We haven't had a chance to play many of them. So ultimately, it's how do we do it? You know, ultimately, I can't control who's in our league, who's not. Right now, we're not doing as good a job as we need to do controlling us. And then we'll figure out who the opponent is. And I understand where you're getting at with that, but you know, I know that it was for the when we were at the conference meetings and the coaches were there, it was a little difficult for some of the coaches that were leaving and some that were coming in, but that's just the way it is. That's the nature of what we do. It's out of our hands.